Ice Cube's brother-in-law got beat up.
Yeah, it was conflict, yeah. But I went to Cube about 4 or 5 times before the conflict jumped off.
Okay.
And told him to correct the situation.
Is the Westside connection still together sometime?
Nah, we don't get down like that. It's just me and Dub.
Problem with Mack?
Yeah, it's a problem. Just a violation that can't be overlooked.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll leave it at
In hip-hop, loyalty can flip overnight, and that's exactly what unraveled between Mack 10 and Ice Cube. There was a time when they stood shoulder to shoulder, dominating the West Coast scene as a force. As Westside Connection, they rocked stages, pushed serious numbers, and held Los Angeles down alongside WC like a solid, unbreakable unit.
Then everything unraveled almost overnight. What once looked like real brotherhood started turning into quiet friction, and that friction eventually blew up into a divide that's lasted for decades. But before Mack 10 ever teamed up with Cube, he was deep in the trenches of LA's underground, putting in work and building his reputation step by step. Music was never a hobby to him, it was a calculated mission. He came up studying icons like NWA, watching how they shoved gangster rap into the mainstream and delivered unfiltered street narratives with zero fear. That authenticity spoke to him, and it sparked something serious inside. He began refining his own style, hunting for a voice that truly reflected his environment, and eventually linked with a local collective known as First Amendment. That crew became his first real stepping stone. Inside those studio sessions, he learned discipline, sharpened his delivery, and developed genuine confidence behind the mic. Being part of that movement showed him what a legitimate rap career could actually become, and he committed fully from the jump. He wasn't chasing clout. He wanted influence, leverage, and a permanent seat at the industry table.
A pretty good writer, and like in the hood, my music was growing.
Okay.
Like I was in a group called First Amendment, you know what I'm saying? And like
First Amendment, okay.
Yeah, and like my music was growing.
As Mack 10's name started making waves across LA, he began stepping into bigger rooms and rubbing shoulders with real industry movers. One of his first major breaks came from Eazy-E. The NWA legend recognized serious talent in Mack early on, and even brought him in to co-write a few tracks. That kind of cosign wasn't small, it was monumental. Earning respect from a West Coast pioneer gave Mack instant momentum and boosted his confidence sky high. Doors that once seemed firmly shut began to crack open. Through those connections, he linked with influential DJs like Bobcat and DJ Pooh, names that carried serious weight in the scene. Those relationships eventually led him straight to the lynch mob, Ice Cube's inner circle. Before long, Mack was in the studio with Cube himself, and the energy clicked immediately. Their chemistry was effortless, natural, and unforced. They laid down tracks, built trust, and forged a tight musical alliance. Touring with the lynch mob exposed Mack to bigger stages and louder crowds, and he consistently delivered solid verses on their records. Then in 1995, he landed a spot on the Friday soundtrack, a massive career milestone. That placement had both the streets buzzing and the industry watching closely. Cube even helped Mack secure a deal with Priority Records, setting the stage for something much larger down the line. That Priority deal officially marked Mack 10 as a solo artist, and from that point, his grind went next level. The machinery was behind him, the streets were behind him, and the spotlight was getting harder to ignore. But even as Mack and Ice Cube moved as a unit, their backgrounds were worlds apart. Mack 10 wasn't just rapping about street life, he lived it. He grew up on Queen Street in Inglewood, an area infamous for deep gang ties. Simply being raised there meant you were immersed in that culture, whether you wanted to be or not. Back then, the city was raw, the drug trade intense, neighborhoods were divided, and rivalries flared constantly. LA County had earned a nationwide reputation for how brutal life could get. Mack witnessed police raids, street altercations, and all the chaos that came with that environment firsthand. That upbringing shaped his mindset. He wasn't observing it from a distance for material, he was living it. As he climbed the ranks in rap, he also earned a reputation as someone who carried himself with undeniable authority. People saw him as fearless, not someone to test lightly. That presence meant Mack 10 often stood shoulder to shoulder with Ice Cube during industry conflicts.
Mugs, Sand Dogs, nobody from Cypress Hill. And they was blood. But I was with it, so I didn't give them.
Whenever Cube faced conflicts with other artists or labels, Mack 10 was right there, standing solid and ready. His presence alone carried weight in those situations. In the rap game, perception is everything, and Mack's reputation made it obvious he wasn't just playing a part, he was firm in his identity. And here's where the contrast between them gets clear. Mack 10's upbringing came from one world, while Ice Cube's background came from another entirely. According to Cube's own biography, he grew up in a stable, working-class neighborhood and went to solid schools in Los Angeles. He wasn't raised inside active gang zones, nor was he constantly surrounded by street-level conflict. His early life was a far cry from the raw streets he later depicted in his music. Yet Cube built a brand around hard-hitting, street-centered narratives. His lyrics were aggressive, charged with tension, frustration, and sharp commentary on law enforcement and life in rough neighborhoods. There's no denying the power of that writing. But over time, some listeners began questioning how much of it was lived experience versus keen observation.
Ice Cube is not a Crip. He's not a Blood. He's not really a thug. He's an entertainer. And that's the real. And you gotta get that bullshit out your head. Because what he's talking about, he ain't living. And what I live is what I'm talking about.
Ice Cube is it's not blood, Mack 10 once said. He's not really a thug. He's an entertainer. And that's the real truth. You've got to get that out your head. Because what he's talking about, he ain't living it. What I lived, that's what I'm speaking on. Over the years, several longtime Los Angeles figures have echoed that sentiment, noting Cube was more of a storyteller than someone fully immersed in street life. They argue he observed the environment around him and translated it into music rather than actually participating in that lifestyle. For those who survived those streets firsthand, that perspective raised eyebrows. Some felt Cube profited from narratives rooted in real pain that others endured directly. While many were facing serious consequences in their daily lives, Cube was building a massive career off the same environment's inspiration. That contrast didn't sit right with everyone, quietly fueling tension beneath the surface. Critics argued Cube's gangster image was exaggerated, even disrespectful. In their eyes, it looked like he wore street culture like a costume, without carrying the real-life weight that came with it. They saw him presenting a dramatic version of that world while steering clear of its harsh realities. Yet, when people hear the name O'Shea Jackson, they think impact. Whether it's the fearless rapper who reshaped the West Coast sound or the actor bringing the same intensity to the big screen, Ice Cube's influence is undeniable. Mention his name, and legacy comes to mind. His role in shaping gangster rap is massive. As a core member of NWA, he was widely regarded as the lyrical engine, delivering sharp, frustration-filled verses layered with social commentary and raw energy. His writing helped turn the group into a cultural powerhouse that shook the industry. But the line between storytelling and lived experience remained a talking point. Unlike Mack 10, Cube's ties to the streets were more observational. He studied the world around him, absorbed what he saw, and channeled it into art that was powerful, intense, and undeniably influential.
Ice Cube was a great kid, just a nice kid.
So Ice Cube wasn't gangbanging at all?
No.
Hearing about all this gangbanging stuff from someone that doesn't gangbang at all?
Me up.
Yeah?
Cool.
Alonzo Williams, the founder of the legendary Wreckin' Crew and one of the first to give Cube a serious shot, has often described him as a respectful, focused young talent. That insight adds another layer to the story, highlighting just how complicated this whole saga really is. Smart, articulate, and driven, that's how Alonzo painted Cube. Ambitious, yes, but not deeply entrenched in the street conflicts his later lyrics portrayed so vividly. According to Alonzo, Cube wasn't heavily involved in gang life or neighborhood warfare. He was observing, learning, and channeling that energy into powerful music. There's nothing wrong with turning your surroundings into art, but when you compare him to someone like Mack 10, the contrast is obvious. Mack's experiences came from a completely different reality. By the time Mack and Cube officially linked up, their chemistry sparked something huge. Alongside WC, they formed Westside Connection and started making serious noise. Outwardly, everything looked flawless. Albums were dropping, tours were packed, and they proudly represented the West Coast during a tense era in hip-hop. Regional rivalries were intense, and solidarity mattered. They weren't just collaborators, they moved like brothers. But behind the scenes, cracks were forming. When the relationship finally fractured, it wasn't just about album sales or contracts. According to Mack, the real trigger came from something far more personal. something tied to family.
Conflict, yeah, but I went to Cube about 4 or 5 times before the conflict jumped off.
Okay.
And told him to correct the situation. If you go to somebody 5 times before it escalates, then you was trying to be diplomatic about the situation.
In a now-deleted 2010 interview with All Hip Hop, and later during a 2020 sit-down with DJ Vlad, Mack 10 laid out his side of the story. What he revealed suggested the real problem began much closer to home than fans ever imagined. Mack said Cube's brother-in-law had shown disrespect toward him, and instead of reacting aggressively like many expected, he tried to handle it calmly. He didn't dive into drama immediately. He went straight to Cube 4 or 5 times, asking him to intervene before things escalated. During the Vlad interview, Mack explained, "I wasn't trying to start anything." He added, "If you go to someone 5 times before it blows up, that shows you were trying to be diplomatic." For a guy known as fearless and unflinching, that level of patience was remarkable. Mack had a reputation for standing his ground, but because this involved Cube's family, he exercised restraint. He gave real chances, and in his eyes, that should have mattered. With anyone else, the story could have gone very differently. Still, despite those efforts, tension reached a breaking point. According to Mack, Cube's brother-in-law eventually got involved in a physical altercation, and that moment changed everything. From there, the bond between Mack and Cube fractured for good. The unity that created Westside Connection began fading fast. Over the years, Mack has maintained that the fallout never justified ending their entire movement. In a Q&A with All Hip Hop, he suggested the issue could have been resolved without dismantling what they built. But once pride and family got involved, there was no rewind button. That's when the partnership truly fell apart. Mack later reflected on the situation, stressing that from his perspective, nothing unforgivable occurred. He essentially said, "I didn't do anything to him, and he didn't do anything to me." According to Mack, it was simply an argument that was misinterpreted, especially since Cube's wife was present at the time.
It's just a violation that can't be overlooked.
He even explained that if Cube's wife hadn't been there, they probably would have worked it out and kept making records together. From Mack's perspective, it was just a misunderstanding that escalated far beyond what it needed to be. Even with that mindset, he hasn't hidden the regret he feels. In a 2011 Vibe interview, he admitted he wasn't sure if he and Cube would ever speak again. He's reiterated that sentiment in later interviews too. While insisting he doesn't carry hate or bitterness, there's a clear sense of disappointment in his words. Rumors have also circulated that Mack may have been frustrated with Cube declining a second tour for Westside Connection's final album, Terrorist Threats. Neither of them has confirmed that publicly, but it's one of several fan theories about behind-the-scenes tension. Meanwhile, Cube has mostly stayed tight-lipped. In interviews, he tends to keep details vague, usually alluding to a violation he felt couldn't be overlooked. That silence only deepens the mystery of what went down behind closed doors. In street terms, a violation is serious. It's a line crossed that can change your perception of someone forever. Cube hinted at that during a guest spot on It Is What It Is with Cameron, and even without specifics, the vibe was tense. When Cam asked why he only performs with WC and not Mack 10, Cube didn't dodge the question. He kept it short. "Nah, we don't get down like that." No speech, just cold and final. Then he added, "It's just me and Dub," leaving it there. He never explained the details, but his tone made it clear the chapter was closed. Mack 10 has also been candid about his stance. In a 2023 interview with Bootleg Kev, he said he doesn't carry hate toward Cube, but he isn't chasing a reunion either. He feels he handled it the right way and has made peace with how things ended. From Cube's side, it seems a boundary was crossed that couldn't be repaired. That split in perspective is exactly why they've stayed apart for decades.
And he goes, "Yeah, that's perfect, me and Muggs asked him, "Hey man, we got a couple of tracks from the album, you want to hear it?"
We played him a song called Throw Your Set in the Air, and he was like, "Oh, that's banging. Can I get that for the movie instead?"
They're like, "Man, we'd love to give it to you, but this is gonna be the single on our."
For Westside Connection fans, watching that split is tough because they once moved like a unit. One of the most cited loyalty moments is Cube's beef with Cypress Hill, where Mack stood unwaveringly at his side. It's wild to think some of the friction goes all the way back to the Friday soundtrack era, the very project Cube curated. One of the standout tracks from that period was Cypress Hill's Roll It Up, Light It Up, Smoke It Up, which was cleared to appear on the soundtrack. Everything seemed fine on the surface. But according to Be Real, that's when things started quietly shifting. The real tension allegedly sparked during a studio session when Cube got a first listen to previews from Cypress Hill's upcoming album, Temples of Boom.
Oh yeah, we gave that up already. Why? No. The throw your set in the air thing. I said, no, we didn't give him that. Well, finally I hear it, and sure enough, there it is, the same. It's like some of the words are changed around, but for the most part, the chorus is the same.
Among those songs was their lead single, Throw Your Set in the Air. Cube reportedly loved the track and wanted it on the Friday soundtrack, but Cypress Hill stood their ground, saying it was crucial for their own album. They even played it for him again, but remained firm. The song wasn't available. Respectfully, they said no. Fast forward to the Friday soundtrack release, just before Temples of Boom dropped. A friend of B-Real called, confused. "Did you let Ice Cube use one of your album tracks for Friday?" B-Real was caught off guard. He explained that the only song cleared was Roll It Up, Light It Up, Smoke It Up. But his friend insisted another track on the soundtrack sounded almost identical to Throw Your Set in the Air.
A couple lines that were the same things I used on the Temple of Boom record. And I thought to myself, wait a minute, that's my line. In my opinion, I felt like he saw my reaction, and I walked out of the room for a second to make a phone call. When I came back, the line.
At first, B-Real didn't buy it, but after listening closely, he noticed something felt off. The hook sounded almost identical, with only minor lyrical tweaks. That's when suspicion morphed into frustration. What had started as a simple soundtrack collab suddenly felt personal, and that's when the whole situation took a sharp turn. Feeling betrayed, B-Real didn't hold back. He vented in the studio, and that energy quickly made its way to Ice Cube through Mack 10. Cube reached out to B-Real directly, claiming it was all a misunderstanding, and for a brief moment, it seemed tensions eased. But then things got weird. Later, Cube invited B-Real to the studio to lay down a guest vocal for Cozy On, a group signed to Lynch Mob Records.
B-Real, Mug, Sin Dog, nobody from Cypress Hill. And they was blood. But I was with this nigga, so I didn't give him.
While laying down tracks, B-Real noticed some lines sounded nearly identical to lyrics from Temples of Boom. That immediately raised red flags. According to him, Cube picked up on B-Real's reaction. When B-Real stepped out and came back, those lines were gone. To him, that was confirmation. Something shady was going on. That became the breaking point for Cypress Hill. B-Real returned to his crew and explained the situation. They responded with No Rest for the Wicked, a direct diss aimed squarely at Ice Cube. It was sharp, unapologetic, and left no doubt where they stood. Cube, never one to back down, hit back hard. This time, Mack 10 stood by his side. Together, they dropped King of the Hill, going head-to-head with Cypress Hill. What started as a soundtrack issue had exploded into a full-on rap war, both sides locked in, ready to defend their legacy. Mack 10 was still early in his career, but he didn't hesitate to ride with Cube. He'd never even met Cypress Hill personally, yet loyalty mattered more than familiarity. In Mack's world, you ride with your people, no questions asked. As diss tracks flew, fans and LA artists picked sides, heating up an already tense scene. Around the same time, Cube was also dealing with LA rappers K and Solo over business disputes, which spilled into the streets when Cube and Solo reportedly ran into each other at a stoplight.
What's it going to take for you and Cube to squash this? I said, just like you, all he's got to do is call me.
And I explained to him where I was coming from. I don't got nothing to do with it, but that's my homeboy, and I'm riding with it. And he said, you know what, homie? I can respect that. I can't even be mad at you.
According to Solo, things got physical fast. He claims he came out on top, and during that scuffle, Cube's chain somehow ended up in his hands. But hold up, Solo didn't keep it quiet. He took that chain straight to a Cypress Hill show at the House of Blues and lifted it up for everyone to see. The crowd went wild instantly, and a photo of that moment blew up online, fanning the flames of an already heated situation. With Cube, Mack 10, and Cypress Hill all in the mix, people seriously wondered if this was about to leave the music world behind. Thankfully, even with all that chaos and energy, it never got worse. In the end, it stayed locked in the world of diss tracks and street reputation, not something violent. As the dust started settling, Mack 10 unexpectedly stepped into a surprising role. According to him, someone slid him B-Real's number and said the Cypress Hill legend wanted to talk. Mack didn't hesitate. He picked up the phone. The call was straight up real and no nonsense.
He told Be Real flat out that his loyalty to Ice Cube meant he had to ride or die with him during the feud. No exceptions. That's just how Mack moves. To Be Real's credit, he got it. He reportedly said he respected it and didn't hold anything against Mack for standing with Cube. That one call flipped the energy completely. Mack then convinced Cube to get on the phone with Be Real himself. Once the two legends actually spoke, the tension melted and the back and forth stopped. The beef was officially squashed, closing the book on one of the West Coast's most legendary rivalries. If you love deep dive breakdowns like this, hit that subscribe button, smash the like, drop your thoughts in the comments, and share this video. Don't forget to click the hype button to help the channel grow. Appreciate you for watching.